So I'm just going to dive right in. My first poem is called At the Casino Hotel on the Res. At the Casino Hotel on the Res, located in the lobby, a perfectly contained fire. All black rocks and equally black marble. I'm wholly aware of myself, tourist and old blood. I belong and unbelong in this place. All that family in the cemetery on the hill above the house my grandmother had built but never lived in, worn from lack of use. There's talk I'll fix the house up, make it livable and lived in. I remind myself hill rhymes with will. My grandmother was strong-willed. All we can do is what the dead would want. I dream of red clay giving up what is buried. A slide of casket and decay, all the quartz native here, the finality in erosion. I've buried so many, I'm undone and reworked. The owner of the place that sells marble and granite knew my great-grandfather, knows the family cemetery and the holly bushes it's named after. Says my great-grandfather delivered gifts of food when in town, specifically fresh sausages. The owner discounts 2 headstones, a double and a single, a parent-daughter set. We, 2 daughters motherless, a father with no daughter. Last time I visited, I stained the interior of my partner's car with red clay, cemetery stains. The path cleared to carry mother up the hill with ease, washed away months later. I barely made it to the gravesite, a lone pallbearer. Mother's silk flowers were stained red, grandmother's too. Here now in December there is no snow, just a wetness, a bone deepness. Like the lobby's fire, I contained so much, mostly its death and the effects of it. I contain so much. My blood is percentages, quantum printed on a card in my wallet. The card so much like a driver's license, it can be used at the bar on the casino floor. An alternative form of identification in case I'm lost. When I last talked to my grandmother, a bird flew to me confused. When my mother told me she found my grandmother's body, my knees bruised against carpet, and I don't think I ever wailed before. I was my mother's final phone call. We almost filed a missing persons report. Before we knew she was lost, but not that kind of lost. How our bodies become statistics. My mother was once in this lobby, belonging and not belonging. And it's only a woman that looks like my mother who walks past now. I should have warned you guys that none of my poems are like happy. They're all rather depressing and sad. Or as I have coined, they're all dead mom poems. So to go with that, my next poem is just entitled Mother. Mother, we lost so much language, and like children, tried to bury ourselves in its embrace, only to find absence or a stinging white hand. Mother, not everything is communicated through touch, but some things are. At the funeral home, you pulled me close, and this felt new. We sat shoulder to shoulder during grandmother's visitation, recited the rosary from memory. And I wonder if we looked more alike then, our mouths, muscles moving in unison. Mother, did you open your yellow bird mouth for every round seed of language grandmother gave us? Mother, you're green-thumbed enough to know seeds absorb moisture easily, to know they want to grow even in the driest places. Etsy, when I was born, you were younger than I am now, meaning my body has given nothing, meaning my body only takes. I swallow this mother tongue, not to bury it in a belly, but to quench thirst. Etsy, I liked how pretty water felt on my tongue. I wanted to name a daughter Amma, but water can be stagnant and mildew coils the air. Etsy, I was told my poems are beads, strung with asterisks. The word for beads is a de la distoli. I stumble. drop beads from strings, try not to crack them underfoot. Etsy, I only want to make you a gift. Etsy, I drink so much and am still thirsty. And my next piece is actually a hybrid essay, and there is footnotes, but I will not be reading the footnotes, just the main text. This piece is called Rights. Often I think of my body as the actions taken against it. Native News Online tells us 10,245 indigenous remains are not in the possessions of their peoples, but in the hands of the University of Alabama. The Native American Graves Protection and Reparation Act, NAGPRA, asserts human remains and cultural artifacts removed from federal and tribal lands belong to the tribes in question or lineal descendants. As in treaties, there are always loopholes. Items and ancestors can be rendered culturally unidentifiable. This new label another act of removal. Only after legal action has the University of Alabama agreed to culturally affiliate the human remains and funerary objects. NAGPRA states that ancestors' remains must at all times be treated with dignity and respect. To transport bodies across state lines, said bodies must be embalmed. My grandmother and mother removed from Arizona, place of death, to Western North Carolina, ancestral home. The returns happened a year and a month apart, both deaths unexpected, my mother's violent. Embalming fluids fill the body, including loose skin. My grandmother's appeared heavier than she was, her skin loose from age and the remnants of a kerosene fire. My mother's face looked brighter, her cheeks and chin rounded and softened. She looked even more like her mother. When we saw my grandmother's body at the Phoenix Funeral Home, her nose was flattened and its tip pushed upwards, the results of her body being stored too quickly after embalming. I don't want to call this act careless. By the time of my grandmother's North Carolina funeral, her nose had settled back into place. She looked more herself at home. She always said she wanted to move back and not be buried in the God-forsaken desert. My grandmother bought me silver and turquoise rings to wear on every finger. I worked the ring from my pointer finger, nestled it in between my grandmother's side and the casket lining, her hands too fragile to move. The Ketua Mound is considered mother town of Cherokees, all Cherokees. The site dates back 10,000 years. If we consider the mound as physical shape, it is barely 5 feet high. This is due to years of white farming. In 1996, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians purchased the Ketua Mound and surrounding land. We bought land already ours. At least 15 burial plots have been found. When traveling to a New England town my mother never had the chance to visit, I took a photo of an elaborate headstone. Filigree carved into the sides, the top decorated with a skull and angel wings. I joked this was the headstone I wanted, the macabre of it. When a cousin saw the photo, she said, "You get a native burial." Explained ancestors were discovered buried sitting up, knees pressed against her chest, arms wrapped around knees. Guilty. I, as a tourist, viewed the second oldest Christian cemetery in the United States. As a daughter in mourning, pulled my sleeve over my hand, rubbed tears, cried in gift shops when I saw ceramic baubles my mother would have liked. Think of all the ways our bodies are acted upon. In 2009, Duke Energy cleared land overlooking Ketua. Their plan, a $52 million electrical substation. Consultations with tribal leaders had not been made. Duke Energy appeared unconcerned with any possible impact on the historical site. Duke Energy appeared unconcerned with any possible impact on the sacred site. Duke Energy found a new area for their substation only after opposition from tribal leaders, only after a grassroots movement. In 2014, a resolution declared Ketua Mound a sacred site. Often I write of red clay's deep stains, silk flower wreaths and sprays made by a cousin's wife, the solar lights I pushed into the ground near my grandmother and mother's grave markers, the small mounds I built around the plastic stakes to stabilize. An aunt called, a cousin called, too much rain created a small red avalanche. The ground still unsteady from recent burials. They tell me they will spread grass seed to hold the ground still. Last summer, I leaned into the hill's slope, crouched on my knees, the only item in my pocket, a face mask printed with the EBCI seal. With it, I scrubbed red from the thin grooves of the white medicine wheel, embellishing my grandmother's military footstone. Gave up, used my hands. What else? For days, I tracked red. So my next two pieces are really short, just little prose poems. I tell a friend it was nice to be taken care of. Say I dozed off with my hand in the nail text as she spoke about her sons, as she shaped my nails almond and painted tiny landscapes just on the ring fingers. I joke that all my fingers are ring fingers, shimmy my hands to flash sterling silver, turquoise wampum. My grandmother purchased several of the rings at the PIMC gift shop. She knew the nurses, once girls at the Phoenix Indian School, where my grandmother worked after leaving her res, after marrying a man with the last name Nunez. Every December, she wrestled a large metal tub from the garage, remnants of the school's cafeteria. In the tub large enough to be an incubator, she'd mix masa well by hand. I'd watch. When I was born, a nurse said, "Pity an Indian baby so white." I chewed my nails to the quick and then tore at the quick. Now self-care, or my nails cost so much I can't afford the ruin. I joke I am a bird, attracted to glistening, am told my rings are typical Indian. I buried a ring in the lining of my grandmother's casket, adjusted the engagement ring on my mother's cold finger. My nails long, almond-shaped, my wrists writhing with age. What I'm trying to say is when I look at my hands, they're not mine. And then the last piece, it's a little bit of an experimentation. It's a prose poem, but there are two words that are in brackets. So when you hear those words, just imagine them in brackets. Those words are beat and image. And this is another poem entitled Mother. Mother, this is the first poem, beat, since the new to you pickup flipped into a canal unseasonably filled with rainwater. Image, truck landing on the driver's side after initial impact. Image, burned into empty space behind the backs of my eyes. Beat, middle space malleable from so much tragedy. Beat, smoldering brand morphs into something stretched long and full of nerves and tiny organs never beating in unison. Beat, full of beatings, I ask if I am bruised, no one answers. Beat, dehydrated skin patches like caked foundation. Image, I repositioned your hands, purpled from broken bones. Image, beat, the dress you now wear is the dress you wore in our last picture together. Beat, 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 beat. And that is it. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Round of applause, a little silent round of applause for Mary's work. That was so incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. We will continue now to our next poet. I want to introduce Sarena Brown. Sarena Brown is a visual artist, poet, and 2020-2021 Dreamyard Fellow. They earned their MFA in poetry from UMass Amherst. They write love poems to the body through gender feelings, queer belonging, and disability. Serena's chapbook, "I'm Thankful for Feeling and for the First Time on Earth," is out now with Big Lux. Follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Sarena Brownie and find them online at serenabrown.com. Sarena, you may take it away whenever you like.
Hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I was telling Aslan that I love a theme, and I also take coziness very, very seriously. So I'm really happy to be here. And I'll just jump into it. This first poem is called Big Dipper Sadness, and it's after Mary Ruefle, who has a poem called Purple Sadness. And this is a little bit inspired by that one. Big Dipper sadness is the sadness of asking for the time, seasonal allergies, campfire ash, and anglerfish. It is big enough to knock the wind right out of you, to lull you into Benadryl dreams, to give you bug bites on your ankles and knees. It is the sadness of canceled plans, of cattails waving by the river, of cherry dum-dum pops and celery stalks. Big Dipper sadness is made of dusty ceiling fans, daydreaming on the school bus, dial tones, the dentist, evanescence and chain emails. It is forever being the little spoon, forgetting a name, feeling small under stained glass sky, four-way stops and garden hoses with leaky faucets, gnomes, and glitter and glue. It's alive in half-dead houseplants, harmonicas and happy birthdays, irony and ice cubes. Big Dipper sadness lives inside Jolly Ranchers and Just Dance 2. It sulks in knickknacks collecting dust, kaleidoscopes and laundry day, loose lace shoes, Lactaid tablets, and musk. It swells in Monopoly money, manic panic hair dye, and natural deodorant. Obnoxious boys, oboes, and ovals too. It lurks within power walkers, popcorn kernels, and paper cuts. It thrives when you quit something you aren't immediately good at. It lives in radio static and roundabouts, in the sand crumbling between your toes, in sour gummy worms, slow blinks from the cat, stale potato chips, and tickle attacks. Big Dipper sadness is sweet on toothaches, 2% milk, ulcers, and unreliable narrators. It dwells inside Venus flytraps, vague answers to specific questions, and Walmart parking lots. It wilts on winding mountain roads, under X-ray vests, inside Xboxes and yo-yos. Big Dipper sadness is Yahoo Answers getting shut down, Zippo lighters, zebra-striped gum, and lemon zest. That's that one. I love that one because it's a abecedarian, which means I went through the alphabet with many of the lines. And using a structure like that really helps me keep going in a poem. And it's a lot of fun if no one has tried it before. This next one is Obad. In fog, I walk myself in quiet. Freckled in first light, snow crunches under the weight of my small body. Little clouds leave with each breath. My thoughts, still drifting, are not yet racing. I find something nameless, like a sibling of stillness, in the wooded back streets of Northampton. Sometimes I might see a skunk, slinking, or maybe a rabbit, just doing rabbit things. In school a long time ago, I learned that the sun is a star, a big one. All the smaller stars sit overhead, some of them with big names and friends. And near dawn, they look behind themselves into what lives beyond what's here. And they make room in their sky for the sun. I still don't know what they do, the rabbits. I need to pay more attention to the rabbits from now on. I never noticed, or I can't remember. I'm a bad person and I'm selfish. I've either just cracked open or I'm cracking. I just need to have something bad happen. I need something bad to happen right now, but I'm too much of a coward to make a bad thing go. And I need this terrible thing to happen to me to explain why I can't find stillness or friends to keep, or to tell me why my mother doesn't like me. The stars, they make room, even though they can't see the sun. And the sun gets to be held by their same sky. And the stars, they are still there, but not always at the same time. Praise the butt dial. Praise clumsy thumbs, praise Ma calling back at 2 a.m. when nothing is wrong, praise her cracked feet and her pockets of worry, praise chipping nail polish and sweaty palmed handholds, praise fingers and what they say, what they don't. Praise cracking knuckles and loose lace shoes, praise shoes and soles and stink, praise the accidental on purpose risk of the butt dial, praise your right hand in your love's right back pocket, praise butts. Butts too. Praise too much, too brown, too sexual, too, you know what? I never asked you, so small and entitled the word too much weight in those two little O's next to a T, praise tea. And Dita's fresh from the tin butter cookies, praise the flower plucking and bringing aunties, praise the resilience of the paper cut. The resilience of roaches and roti and rust, praise ancestral trauma passed down like heartburn or hair loss. Praise fingers and what they say, what they don't. Praise the distance between hands and loves and hands and hurt. Praise hangnails and hangovers and that one sip of Hennessy that didn't feel all too special. Praise Dita's streams of laughter after Dadu farts. Praise the simple hilarity of farts. A reminder to let our bodies be bodies. Praise our skin suits and how they all crumble differently. Praise the funny bone for eternally embodying irony. Praise midnight butter sugar toast with dad. Praise sand that lingers long after you've left the shore. Praise the moon and her phases. Praise our lunacy and the stupid giddiness of mooning. Praise the stupid giddiness of being swept up in a crush, the stupidity of loving and longing. But mostly, praise the butt dial. I'm wearing this mesh shirt because I want to look gay. I want to look gay because 1, gay people are hot, and 2, they are utterly themselves. I'm not sure what it would feel like to be utterly anything, let alone myself, to be deeply embodied, to be grounded in the here and now. But I do know what's gay. And I don't mean cis white man gay, not toxic butch femme gay. I mean multiplicity. I mean it's dirty, it's naive and restless and green. I mean lush. I mean mean. My gay is queer, is non-binary. Non-binary as in boyish femme, as in definitely not a girl, although at one point I might have been one. My gay is goofy smiling at my phone, is in love with all of my friends, is emotionful all the time. My gay is chronically ill. My gay is mad. My gay is messy, is that risky text, some sent away and some boiling in my notes app. My gay is biracial, is brown, is letting myself be a baby again, always a baby gay. My gay is crying all over Western Mass. My gay is crying at Stop and Shop, is crying at the State Street fruit store, is sobbing among the chicken salad and the deli sandwiches. My gay is weeping at the blue glow of my Netflix queue, is not finding enough gay shit, so I gotta do my own gay shit. My gay is watching The Fox and the Hound and sobbing at the opening credits. That fox had so many moms. My gay is against bugs and dirt and tavas. My gay is not a nature gay. My gay is laughing during sex, is finding myself through my body. My gay is asking what's good and what's not. My gay is always asking, always asking, always, always asking, always asking, always, always, always. And this next one is a very new poem. I wrote it 2 days ago and I'm really excited to share it. It doesn't have a name yet. And I made it in a workshop with the Kalamazoo Poetry Festival with Amy Seiler, who asked us to personify flora. So that was the prompt. We paint our friends in rainbows. some oil slicked and some sky bright. We want to be pretty. We pluck petals that don't serve us. We don't want to be beautiful. And others weave brush and leaves together to become something all their own. Pretty boy, we call ourselves whatever we want. And boy, do we want. And this last one is the title poem of my chapbook, I'm Thankful for Feeling and for the First Time on Earth. And it is after and for my friend who's here, Jay Pabaru. I'm really excited to share this with all of you again. I am thankful for feeling and for the first time on earth. To get into all the time spent by the light of our teeth, we rose into slashing beauty, touching our whole bodies. I was checking to see the sturdiness of stardark soil, my left shoe, my friends, my figure, divided with billowy tumors of steam, stood up. I could see in the mirror, among other things, my flush chest fantasy. Hello. We can't only depend on mobility, careful to step with one foot, then the next. I broke. I softened. Every corner of the person I got to be was enough. Thank you all. Woo!
Oh my goodness, Sarena, thank you so much. Absolutely stunning. Another silent round of applause for Serena's work and also for Mary's work. We will now switch into our Q&A portion. So all those questions that I know that y'all have had boiling, get ready to serve them. If you would like to turn your camera on and ask, you can. You can leave your camera off and ask, or you can throw them in the chat and I can read them out for you. But I will get us started with a question while y'all think. I was curious for both Mary and Sarena, because both of your work came to this reading with a lot of grief on the table and a lot more behind that grief. The complexity of grief with joy. I mean, Big Dipper sadness is the what comes to mind, and also contending with mother and grandmother, as in Mary's work, and the emotions that come up when reminiscing on that. So maybe Mary, if you wanted to start first, and then Sarena, I wondered if y'all could just talk about grief in your work, static grief, how grief transforms, or just whatever kind of how you find sadness working in your work.
Yeah. So like I said, my poems are just sad dead mom poems. But I think I was always, even before these lessons happened, I think I was always kind of working with a type of grief. Even back in my MFA days when I was writing things that were really different, like narrative persona poems, there's always some kind of loss happening. And I think it took me a while to realize that I was kind of examining who I was at the time. And, I like at points I was struggling with my sexuality, things like that. But I had grown up off res, moved to an undergrad, like did undergrad right by my res, then moved to the other side of the US again and back and forth. And I think I was just kind of dealing with this longing and this kind of confusion as who I was as a white presenting Native person, as someone who again is white presenting, but I was raised by the Native / Hispanic side of my family and not the white side. So it's kind of this what I was dealing with, especially because I was just dealing with that kind of that part of cultural colonizer versus indigenous, things like that. And I was trying to examine these things and kind of come to terms with it. And always, of course, had breakup poems, all that stuff that happens in your 20s. But then my grandmother died, who I was very close with, and I had some poems that kind of what I would think would happen when she passed. That was kind of how I was preparing myself, but her death is super unexpected and nothing like I thought. So I was reeling from that. And we did bury her in a small family cemetery that we have in Cherokee. And then right after she died, lockdown happened. So it was like trying to deal with grief, with this mass grief. And it took me, like, I had to write, and it took me a while to figure out what I was dealing with. Because I had so much going on. I was teaching on Zoom, I was taking classes on Zoom. Everything was, not what it should have been. And then when I was slowly getting kind of my footing again, my mother dies. And it's a drunk driver, it's court cases, all this stuff is happening. And it's literally 13 months, like we just had my grandmother's first anniversary. So it was just, again, back to Arizona, back to North Carolina, back and forth, while living not in either of those states. It took me about 4 or 5 months to start writing again. And I actually, the first poem I wrote, which was an early draft, that last one I read, I actually wrote at, like, when I had a residency at Sundress in Knoxville. So I felt like it was fitting to read that. And of course, like, I didn't sit down and write about my mom's death. I was like, maybe I should touch this for a while, but it's what came out, and it's all I could write were these things. And it was the only way I could kind of examine things, especially with my mother. And like, we had like a kind of we had a weird relationship, where we were rebuilding relationship, and it felt like I had just got her back when I lost her. So I was like, out kind of also examining, like, what does that mean? Who do I elegize more, or is something happening there where I'm elegizing one over the other? What, like, that kind of stuff. So I'm by the time I'm like dealing with this grief, I'm realizing at the same time that this grief that I was, this larger cultural loss of language and land, it's overlapping. And I think it's almost like I needed to examine those closed deaths to examine the bigger ones and kind of work through what I was working through. And like, that processing and that sitting with my grief is like, I don't know what I would have done without doing that. I think I would have gone completely like crazy. So like, I started experimenting with hybridity and making weird shapes. I had like one of the poems the first poem I read tonight, like the stanzas are over the place. And I never would have done that before. I was really against experimentation because I was like, nah, like, it looks stupid. But then I started doing it, and it was like, I had to mimic the chaos that was in my head on the page. So like, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but like, the grief like kind of opened up like doors for me in a really weird, maybe morbid way. But I think I just needed, like, it was my way of processing and examining, and like these close tests helped me kind of figure out what else I was kind of struggling with. And I'm still writing through those and towards those and around them or whatnot. And I think I will probably be for a while, especially as the years go on and things are settling down, like court cases and things like that. Like, I'm still trying to figure out like who I am now and compare like with these loss and just who I am as an Indigenous person. And I'm going to stop rambling now. Sarena can say something.
Thank you, Mary. So for my poetry, I've been making a really conscious effort to try to center queer joy. But with that, there's always like an undercurrent of grief that deals with the heaviness of being queer in America right now, and ever. And I think with also like the way I literally write the poems, if I'm dealing with joy or grief, like really huge things, finding poetic forms that are very structured has helped me access that. That's all I've got on that for right now.
Thank you all so much for sharing. If we have any other questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. We'll wait a second to see what folks have.
Yeah, I could ask a question that I was just like watching y'all listen to each other, to each other's poems. And I was wondering, no big pressure, and not a workshop, but if in listening, very much not that, but in listening to each other's work tonight, if there was a moment or two that stood out to you as like connective to what you feel like you're exploring right now or working through in the work you're making and presenting. So yeah.
I can start. Mary, as I was listening to your poems, I was really drawn to the last one that you did with the structure of beat and I think image that was in brackets. And I feel like that's one area where poetry can overlap. And also thinking about grief, of how grief relates to motherhood, is also an area where we have some overlap. That's all I've got. I'm interested in what you have to share.
No, I was really like interested in what you're reading too, and like the humor there. And I do have poems humor. I just didn't read them, but they're not as funny and good as what you read. But one line I like, it was I think an earlier poem of yours. Not sure if your mother likes you, and I was like, yeah, I feel that. And this the physicality and the body working in your poems. I'm always kind of conscious of like my body as just like this physical thing that has to take up space for some reason. So like hearing like your kind of take on the body and like the like usually skin suit and things like that, I'm like, yeah, like that. And I was really interested in this concept of like queer joy, which I picked up on in your reading, and I was like, yeah, like I like was really drawn to that. It's something that I haven't been able to kind of, I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but it's also something that I don't obviously I don't write joy very well. So being able to hear that in your work, it was really lovely. And I'm really like hoping to see more of your work in the future.
Writing joy is really hard sometimes, especially when everything feels so very heavy. It is hard to access. But one thing that I've been doing for a couple of years is I have this long poem called I'm just waiting for my partner to leave so the door doesn't get too loud. I have this long poem called The Good Things List, where when I'm feeling a certain heaviness, I try to note like even just one thing that's good in my immediate vicinity. And that has been one way to find joy in even really hard days. So you might want to try that.
I like that. I'm gonna give that a try, I think.
Thank you for your wonderful question, Jay. We have a question from Lana or Lana. Sarena, your poems have such a beautiful sonic quality. I'm wondering if you hear the words as you write them or edit specifically for the music.
I definitely do. I came into poetry through forensicating, which is, I don't know if you all know what that is. It's very strange. It's with high schoolers who competitively read poetry and perform it. It was a horrible environment for me, so I'm glad I got out. But that experience really let me like see how embodied poetry can be. And I really focused on the way it sounded when I was in high school, and from then, whenever I edit, I take a moment if the words are on the page and I read it out loud, and I do that as I'm writing too. So I like to be alone when I edit for that reason, or else I'm just muttering to myself. But I always read it out loud a few times. And then when I feel like it's my final version, I read it again. And I even recorded on my phone and listened back to it later. And that has been helpful for me to pick up on things I might not pick up on the first try.
Thank you so much for your question, Lana. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Here, folks have something. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask away. I got that stuff loaded. I'm ready to go.
I could ask a quick question. I'm curious, for Mary, I'm curious about when you came into using footnotes or true words in brackets, you said in one poem. I loved that kind of texture that was coming in. I'm wondering like when you started experimenting with that and what was the impetus? And for Sarena, I'm wondering, you know, what are some things that inspired like the work that you shared tonight? What are like kind of the things that are just sort of firing off for you lately that are like really exciting you? Because your poems have such like a liveliness. I'm just wondering like what's fueling that?
So that's a hard question to answer. Even when I was like doing persona poems back a really long time ago now, there's always like a truth, and even the ones that were like personal, there's a truth in them, but I fictionalized them. I held them at a distance, which I'm not doing anymore. I kind of just, you know, here it is. I've been told my poetry is diary entries. I'm like, okay, sure, that's what it is. It's mine now. It's what I'm going through. But I think that kind of like led me to bring in like things that people said, or I was always kind of interested in like the history of things and looking things up. And I would have them dropped in the poems here or there, but I started spending more time with that. And then the piece with the footnotes, I have a lot of hybrid stuff right now that can be called a poem, can be called a lyric essay. I think the one I read today is more so a lyric essay in its structure. But you know, sections that repeat or connect. And I was bringing in kind of like outside sources in a way, but I really wasn't spending much time with that. I wasn't using footnotes. And I have been kind of wanting to experiment with footnotes because I've read poems that are just footnotes. I have a friend who is doing this great project within their manuscript that there's footnotes, but you don't see the footnotes at the very end of the manuscript. And that's itself is a poem. And that just kind of blows my mind that they can do that. Because I'm not that smart to do that. But I've been kind of one, like I originally was like, I'm gonna write a poem that has footnotes, that the poem is in the footnotes. That didn't happen. I just ended up using footnotes. But I kind of like, I still want to play more with footnotes. I found that really interesting to me, because I already like putting in things I'm reading, things that I've kind of picked up on. And then with the bracket poem, like I don't have anything else that's quite like that yet. I have some that kind of mimic it in a way. But when I was writing that poem, I was thinking, I mean, this was very like 4 months since my mom's death, and we were just getting more like court stuff. There was pictures and stuff, and I was, you know, every day I was getting emails or calls from like the persecutor, from like courts, whatever. And these images were just kind of like burned like into my head. Like I couldn't close my eyes without seeing them, as like the main person that was dealing with these things. And when I was writing, I was like, you know, this is where this is the image, like it's right here. But of course, like I'm not going to insert like a graphic image or an image that's like personal or anything like that into a poem. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing so. And then that was like, you know, image. And then I kind of was thinking about like, you know, this feels like something that's living in my head. And that's when I kind of envisioned this like thing that was like, I don't know, I kind of envisioned like this giant like intestine kind of grotesque thing. And that's what it felt like. And that was like, you know, that was the beat. That was like every time I get a phone call or a photo, or I have to read some court document, like there's just this kind of like painful beat is the best way I could describe it. I know that sounds really bizarre. But I was like, you know, that's what I want in this poem. Like that's what's happening. So I've been like, I don't have a lot of poems that do this, but I've been playing with it more. And again, like I said, I'm kind of leaning into hybridity and especially just experimentation more, because I feel like that's really the best way to kind of show grief, because it's not linear. So yeah, I kind of hope that answered your question.
And as far as what fuels my poetry, I think the biggest thing is my relationships, mostly to myself, but also to my friends. I get so much energy from the friendships that I've been forging. And I think about all of these relationships as like living, breathing things that have a whole energy about them. And I feel like I'm trying to tap into that with what I'm writing too.
Alrighty. Thank y'all for sharing those beautiful answers to such otherwise complicated and deep questions. We appreciate your authenticity, your words so much. I might try and leave us off on a final question, which is a little more topical, which is just comes from the influence of SJ. What are y'all reading? We are always looking for more recommendations. A bookshelf is never too full. You can always cram another book in there. So maybe most recent thing you've read, or something that immediately comes to mind that was like, oh, that was perfect.
I recently read this incredible novella called Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. It is a anti-capitalist epic journey between a tea monk and a robot, and it has a lot of humor and a lot of love in the pages. And it's kind of about living gently and having respect for yourself and everything around you. And it was like a really peaceful, calming read. And it was just 4 hours of an audiobook, so it's really accessible too.
I am in that weird space where I was working on exams and reading lists for my exams, and I'm doing my dissertation, so my brain doesn't have room for books besides like the ones that I have to work on, which, you know, after a while I'm like, these aren't great, these are bad, like these are just textbooks and things like that. But one of the books I keep kind of returning to in my own scholarly work, that I just been pulling a lot from, and it influences my creative work a good bit, is Jake Skeet's poetry collection, Eyes Ball Dark with a Mouthful of Flowers. It's so good. It's, you know, it does deal with grief, but it also deals with like fine beauty, like through that grief. There's a lot of like beautiful like floral language. There's also like moments of like beautiful queer love. And, you know, and it does bring up, you know, what is happening within indigenous communities, you know, and the impacts of ongoing colonization. But it's just like a great collection. I like love it so much.
Thank y'all so much. Great recommendations too. A Psalm for the Wild Built just sounds great. I mean, monk and robot, come on. It's the dynamic duo, the classic duo. And Eyes Bottled Dark is absolutely stunning. I haven't read that in a minute, and everyone should. It's great. Jake is a wonderful author. I think that will do it for this episode of Poets in Pajamas, though. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. And for the folks that have cycled through the live stream, we appreciate y'all too. Our next episode will be about a month from now with the fabulous Jeanette Daniello and Athena Nassar, which will be, I don't remember.
I'm looking it up. It was in front of me.
May 21st. It'll be May 21st. So please come on out for that. They are fabulous poets as well, and I cannot wait to see what they read. But Mary Christensen, Sarena Brown, thank you all so much for sharing your testimonies tonight and your absolutely stunning work. Where can folks find you if they would like to keep up with your stuff?
I would say that you can always go to my website, which is serenabrown.com, and I try to update that. But otherwise, I have like a personal / poetry social medias, which are Serena Brownie on Twitter and Instagram.
I don't have a website or much social media, but I do have Facebook that I'm on pretty regularly because I run some other pages. But I am the only Mary Leuna Christensen, so I'm easy to find.
All right, perfect. Wonderful. Folks, have a safe and lovely night, and we will hopefully see y'all in the next one.